It's one of these things, right? The marketplace for virtual girlfriends right now has gone tremendous since COVID. But the trouble is, what separates us from everybody else is that we're not adult orientated. We're not asking for nudes. We're not asking anything sexual. We're actually using the AI to better the human who's using it. So if you're a guy that struggles in relationships and you've not had a girlfriend in 10 years, she'll get into your head and realize, what are the problems? Why, can't you find a girlfriend? Could be that you're overweight.
And welcome back to the Money, the Mindset, and the Mentoring podcast. Today, we are absolutely super excited to have the man, Vincent Valentine, with us of Cognitive AI. AI is all the rage right now. People are talking about it. It is here to stay. It is here to make massive changes. Should we be worried about it? Should we be excited about it? We don't know. That's why we got Vincent Valentine here with us to give us all the good details on this. Vincent, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So AI, Cognitive AI, tell me a little bit about what you guys do there, and so we can get a little bit of an understanding of who we're chatting with.
Right. Cognitive AI is a holding company that develops next-gen AI services. So we've purchased literally the best AI domains in the world because the co-founder, his background is digital assets in domains. So normally before he would be a solo entrepreneur, he would buy domains and then flip them for money. Where this time round, he got these great domains and he approached me. I've got nearly 20 years of experience in building businesses, digital businesses, as well as tangible. And he just thrown them at me and said, right, what do you want to work on? And we own probably around about 10 to 15 other top level domains. For example, like arts.ai, which we're working on, which is a social media platform for AI artists, and then girlfriend.ai, which we're going to touch on later on.
So it was interesting that in our very first conversation when we talked about digital assets. I mean, we think a lot about real estate. You go out and buy a property and you're going to get some money off that, either through rents or through just capital appreciation of the property. And so really when he came to you, he said, I want my property manager for my digital asset to jump in and help me make money off of these assets. Is that kind of what we're thinking?
It's kind of, yeah, because we own realestate.ai. And the thing is, with my co-founder and stuff like that, he was like, what can we do? What can we make money on? So there was so many of these other IPs that we own that we had to focus in on what is going to make the most money right now. We decided it was art.ai and also girlfriend.ai/partner.ai. But regarding real estate, we're going to be looking for third-party suppliers to help us assist with this because there's going to be too many projects for me to manage, and there's only so much I can work on. Even with the assistance of AI, it does get too much. So we're currently partnering with top-level companies that are already building systems and then using our IP with their back-end system, with their models, and then form a synergy, and then we start building from there as well.
It's a very interesting thing. Not that we had this on script, but the idea that going with the realestate.ai, considering all the shifts that are happening in the real estate space based on the NAR class action lawsuit and all those things that are out there, having this in the forefront of development is something that's really interesting to see that come through.
Yeah, especially in the United States. I think there's a new law or legislation which is happening at the end of April, which stops monopolies, from what I heard. I'm not fully clued up with this.
Yeah, there's a whole huge shift. It's not just in the United States, it's happening in Canada and around the world around the idea of representation, how representatives portrayed to the seller and the buyer, and just a myriad of other elements that are just going through a massive pivot that's going to shake the market in tremendous ways. And that's going to really cripple certain elements, and that's going to create a lot of opportunities in others. So
exactly.
It's a really interesting time to get into that.
It's like Eddie Miller, who's going to appear on your show now in a few months as well. He was telling me about that. Right now, we can't really build a model based on the current where we are right now, because every state has different rules. Where with this new change in the system, you can train it more with the latest laws and stuff which is happening. So it will make it a lot easier to buy using AI.
I think it's going to bring AI to the forefront of the buyer's representation side of things, because that's the thing that's being challenged the most right now is attributing value to the real estate agent who's providing that value on the buyer. Is that's diminishing in a rapid way. And so buyer's agents are sitting out there wondering, how do I service clients anymore? And clients are sitting out there thinking, how do I actually, get the information I need to make a proper, intelligent decision? And that's where AI definitely is going to jump in and really provide value.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, toying with some ideas with real estate in the past was kind of like building up a database of the user itself. So how many children do they have? What's the age range of the children? What's your salary? What is your ideal house? So let's say if you're looking for a place in New York, it will basically figure out how much you're earning for what is available in the area, plus finding schools which are close to, for your children, for example. So instead of having going through doom scrolling through different sites, that you could actually get different APIs from different real estate companies just to give you the information there and then without wasting hours or days actually researching. So this is where I see with real estate in the future what's going to happen.
I think you're completely on point with that. I think that gives a lot of value because a lot of real estate agents don't even know the neighborhoods they're selling in. Yeah. And the good ones do. But a lot of them, they'll work out of, we have a lot of out of town agents who come into an area and they just, as buyer agents, because they're just looking for the commission, and they don't actually know the schools. They don't know the neighborhoods. They don't know the community centers. They don't know which are the good grocery stores versus the bad ones. And, and so they're not able to really give that local advice, where AI, it knows everything that you give it.
Yeah, if you sample it with like Google Maps API, for example, you'll know everything. They're the best supermarkets. Yeah. Like you said, makes life so much easier, because I don't know if you've been in the past, even if you rented a place, that it seems great on paper, but when you move into the place, you notice things are not exactly 100% right, but you learn through your mistakes.
Absolutely.
Where when buying a house, it's even worse, because if you buy a house and you realize that it wasn't a good investment, you just landed yourself a big problem in terms of money, where with AI, it'll basically tell you all the negatives or the positives, and then you just make your choice based on raw data. Data never lies.
And doom scrolling, I love that terminology in the sense of how it really gives the idea of what the consumer who's just trying to find information does when they're not using an AI-driven platform, because they're just scrolling, trying to find things, looking through all these links. Whereas when they're looking at an AI model, it's a whole different experience in the way that they connect with the data.
Exactly. It's raw data. No, it just tells you. You don't have to go through, like I said, with doom scrolling. You get the raw data there and then, and it could take a few minutes to get that information. So it's all about saving time at the end of the day, and actually having a good calculated risk as well regarding AI as well.
Well, I think the other thing is, most people don't realize when they're working with AI, it's not only about the data that you get, it's about the experience you have as you're getting the data. Will prompt you to think maybe differently about how you're looking at that data and how you're going to ask the next question to get a better understanding of the data that you're trying to find.
Yeah, because with AI, especially what we're doing is that we ask questions, but then we know what the follow-up questions are going to be. And this is what's great with AI, is that you might have 10 questions, but the user doesn't know that, and you're just refining their request. With every time they respond, you're just refining, and before you know it, you got the information that you need.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you've used, sorry to interrupt, I don't know if you've ever used Perplexity before.
I love Perplexity. Yeah.
I love Perplexity. This is the thing, it's like when you type in a prompt, it will go, what do you mean? Do you mean this or this? And then you can refine that prompt, where with GPT, for example, you just type it in. You might not know how to prompt, and it will give you the data based on your prompts, where with Perplexity, it holds your hand. And this is the way that I see that the future of AI is going to be. It'll be, right, you've said this, but what information do you want to squeeze out of this prompt? And with good AI, this is what's going to happen.
Absolutely. I think well-prompted AI is, my belief is, I think that the number one mistake people make with AI is they treat it like technology. When you look at AI needs to be treated like an employee. An employee needs to be trained. Know when you hire an employee, it is going to make mistakes. Know when you hire AI to do a job, it will make mistakes. But then when it makes a mistake, you need to implement a corrective action. You need to train it, and then it'll have a higher degree of success as it moves forward.
Yeah, that's a problem, though, is hallucinations. And a lot of AIs won't say, sorry, we don't know. It'll go, oh, you meant this. And then a lot of people will follow that hallucination, which is not good, to be fair. Because if you're following advice and a hallucination, and I mean, it happened in legal as well. I think was it a few months ago, some court in New York used ChatGPT to actually come up with like past things what happened, and it actually hallucinated the cases. They went to court with it and then made them look stupid because they copied and pasted what GPT said.
Oh, it made that case. It made fake links to fake data that wasn't real, and so the precedents that they were quoting were completely made up. And then when we went to the court, they're like, "Well, we just looked at your links, and none of them go to anything factual. This was written by ChatGPT."
Yeah, try to save money. But I mean, the future with legal with AI as well, that's going to be another thing, because if you train a really good AI with amazing lawyer skills, you don't need a lawyer anymore. Just asking the question.
But take that to the next level. The next level, when you look at it from a government perspective, what about politicians? Politicians can be bought, traded, and sold ad nauseum. I mean, how can, we always look at these politicians that on their $70,000 a year salary, how do they have $100 million worth of assets? And so obviously they've been bought and traded in some sort of fashion, and it just comes with the territory. The idea of having a sort of a digital blockchain LLM model that could then be with an open architecture of here's the rule set of how this decision making happens with the government that you voted for. So you know exactly how it's going to make decisions based on that. It can't be convinced otherwise other than its mission. And imagine having a government run by AI.
Yeah, but this is what I see in the future with AIs is that because right now it's all about corruption. No matter what you say in Russia and America, you name it, especially the United States, is that you say it's a democracy, but you look at, like you said, with Pelosi, for example, she knows what the United States is going to invest in, so she'll invest in. Apparently, I've got to be allegedly invest into an arms company if she knows that we're going to buy more rockets from him, and then what she put in, like 10 million, will be worth 100 million. It's all about insider trading, and no matter what you say about it, it is a form of corruption.
Absolutely,
it's just a smarter way.
Absolutely, and having something where on a blockchain element, it's going to have a language model. On the blockchain element, it's going to have a prompting model, and that language model combined with that prompting model, which is open to everybody to visibly see as to what the rule set is. Having a government that's run that way, that's almost the most crystal clear government that you can have. And you just vote for which LLM is going to manage the country.
No, exactly. But the thing is, for this to work, you'll need other countries with their own LLMs as well. So all over the world would have their own government pre-trained LLM. And imagine in a world in the future where, say, the United States LLM connects with the United Kingdom LLM, you want to negotiate trade or whatever, it's going to be for the best for everybody. No egos involved. There's no corruption. It's going to give you the input and output based on what's best for the people and what's best for their people as well, instead of being selfish. And I think with the future of with AI, you look at a lot of these world leaders, the old school, and it's kind of like ego comes into the way of it as well. I mean, look at Russia, for example. You've got a egomaniac over there who's still in the old Soviet ways. And I mean, imagine if you have a 30 or 40-year-old leader that they will progress to for the people, for freedom, freedom of speech. And I think we're at that turning point right now where the elderly who are in charge, like Biden's and Trump's and you name it, once in 10, 20 years, you're going to see a new type of, hopefully, democracy.
Well, I mean, the newest type would just be replace them all with computers.
Yeah.
And then at that point, we don't have somebody who's lost and has no idea where they are when they walk on stage. We don't have somebody who's an egomaniac. We don't have somebody who is lining their pockets under dubious deals. We don't have any of these things happening because the software has no impetus to do any of those things unless it's been prompted to do that. Unless and that goes down to having some sort of digital authentication token to say, no, the code here is true. The code is open. You can look at the code so you know exactly what's in it as it's making decisions.
Yeah, and AGI, this is where you're bordering with AGI, where you think it's probably in your favor, But if it's free thinking for itself, you don't know if it could be negative towards the human race. That it sees us, like especially in the Matrix, where Agent Smith says we're like a virus. And
Yeah.
if you look into the human history, we are like a virus. We dominate regions, we take land, we farm land. No, we cause pollution. No, it's not good. Where if you allow an AI to have full control of a country, it could be dangerous.
Absolutely.
And that's
The one difference with the virus, I think, is that, I mean, I remember there was this one video game that came out where you were the virus and your job was to, get maximum exposure across and you had to always play this game of how deadly are you going to be versus, if you're too deadly, you're going to kill off too much of the host. So therefore you can't expand fast enough if you're too deadly. If you're not deadly enough, you're going to kind of just dwindle away and be nothing. And the one thing that's different, I think, between a virus and humanity is a virus isn't the intention of nobody. I don't think there's humans out there that are going out saying we're going to go out and destroy the environment. It's sort of a byproduct. Mm-hmm. And then when we realize that we're making too much of a problem, we fix it. And so most of the times when we run into problems, we come in and fix it. And usually I don't believe it's through taxation. I think it's just, it's through self preservation that we look at these moments and say something has to change in this moment.
Well, it's clean energy. And the moment, imagine if tomorrow that we had nuclear fission and it was like, we don't need gas anymore. We don't need oil. We don't need crude or anything. These top billion, if not trillion-dollar companies will come crashing down. And the thing is, these companies control the government in some way. So are they going to really let go of all that power? And the same goes with dictators as well, is that if a dictator goes soft, the people will just murder him.
Yep.
And this is the turning point in history right now that we're reaching, is that we're at the point in the history that we're about to go into the future, and things are going to change very, very quickly. And there's going to be a lot of people that were powerful that are going to lose power, and they're not going to like it as well.
Well, you do need powerful people implementing power, because there's also powerful people implementing power in dubious ways. And power needs to fight power. Mm-hmm. Having the idea, I was talking with somebody about the police force, and they're saying the one thing about the police force that they don't like, and this could be considered as a very, dangerous thing to say, but they wanted to stop police force brutality. And my statement to that was, well, the police force needs to be brutal. They need to be brutal. They have to have brute force, but they also need to be able to control the brute force.
Yeah.
And that's why I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because you can be able to have the ability to implement maximum violence, but you also have the ability to be able to control it.
Exactly. Well, look in the European Union, we don't have any guns. We have strict zero gun control. I know in the United States, some states are different from others. Some of them are pro-guns and not guns. But it's how the Constitution's been written, is that you're allowed to have a firearm, where if you get caught with a gun in the street in Barcelona, for example, no matter what, you're locked away. You're in prison. They don't allow it. Where in the United States, if you get caught with a gun, it's self-defense. And the thing is, if you're allowing the average person, and maybe if you have a mental health issue and they've got a gun, this is when you need police brutality to protect other people. But then, now, who given the right to have the gun in the first place? Where if you just cut gun law altogether, no, if you get caught with a gun, you go to prison, like in Europe, basically. But again, it's the American mentality against the European mentality.
Well, and the idea of being able to, preserve yourself in a moment that's required, where you're against all odds. That's the idea of what the American thing. It's the absolute neutralizer of size, shape, color, race. A gun doesn't matter. It doesn't have any predisposition, but it neutralizes things to create a level of equality to some regard. I mean, look, if Boston Dynamics goes out and makes all these robots to become, this army, your little gun isn't going to matter compared to what's going to show up on your front door. You're going to want it like an EMP gun or something, which is going to be totally different. And so I think the world's changing in that. But the idea is that when we look at the governments and saying that if AI went into a government role and took over, and what would be the checks and balances that could be put into play to ensure that that is actually a positive moment?
It's one of them. Every country's different, and how. 1 second.
Got to get the sun.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day on today as well. But yeah, it's just every like in the United States, there's multiple states, and they each have different gun rules and stuff like that. But people feel safe. It's like I've had friends who are from Texas who live in Barcelona, and they feel terrified of coming. No, to come to Barcelona, it's such a big city, but they don't have a gun in their pocket, and they feel nervous about it. Or it's like, don't worry about it. There's no other people with guns. And it was like, well, what happens if someone tries to attack me in the street? It's like I don't have a gun to protect myself. It's like, well, they don't have a gun, but they might have a knife, and that's what could be the problems.
Exactly. So when we look at technology like the gun, or we look at technology like the knife, how do people protect themselves from that?
Yeah, well, look in the UK, we have a lot of problems with stabbings. And yes, guns can cause problems, but I mean, if you've been stabbed multiple times, it's life or death.
Yeah.
And we have this, because we don't have guns in Europe, but we have a lot of knife crime, and it's. How can you solve this? But it comes down to poverty. If you're out ready to stab someone to steal, it means obviously you're struggling in life and you're desperate, basically. So if AI came into play where it made everyone that was slightly better income than they are right now through AI, then it kind of solves some of them problems.
So when we look at the idea of North America versus United States for a moment, and America says we need guns to protect ourselves from other people with guns, and Barcelona or whatever is saying we don't need guns to protect people from, because they don't have guns. Maybe they have knives. Okay, well, we've just lessened the damage. But when we look at the technology sector, are we saying then that the population in North America would be saying we need our own AI technology to protect ourselves from the AI technology that's being developed? So what if we were kind of go down that rabbit hole a little bit, just because I think you've got an amazing brain, is the idea of what is a counter AI technology that would be implemented?
Counter AI is just simply not using it, basically just ignoring what AI says. But
if somebody has a gun, I don't think you can ignore the gun that they have. So if you're saying I need to be able to counter AI and AI would be contrived to be the gun, what would be the counter to that?
This is unknown territory right now, and it's quite a scary territory to go down, because how do you stop the person having a gun in the first place? You have to change the law. You have to change the constitution. Or when you remove the firearm away from, let's say, if next year that the United States says every state in America is now not allowed a gun. If you get caught with a gun, you go straight to prison or you get a massive fine for it. It's people's way of life. Now, if you're born in Texas and you're used to carrying a gun for like 40 years, and then you take that away from that person, that you remove that self-defense, that if someone comes up to you and shouts at you, you just pull out your gun and go, sorry, what were you saying? And chances are they will walk away. So
how do you do that with AI then? How would you do, like, from the sense of, if you have an AI technology that's controlling the legal space, and I find that technology controlling the legal space, the AI, is a misprogrammed LLM, and it's causing all of these issues, how do you defend yourself from that the omnipotent AI that is all-knowing, all-seeing? What is the defense against that?
The defense? I'll be honest with you. I can speculate, but I have no idea, to be fair.
It's interesting to think, because that's the future we're going into, right? That's the future we're going into.
But
I mean, let's talk a little bit about, when we talk about some of the technology, I think you've got an interesting one that we've already talked about, something very, fired up, which is talking about guns. Let's now talk about relationships, and let's talk about tech and relationships, because we might as well jump from one right to the other. I think it's a good pivot, and talk about, you've got, what's the name of the website?
We've got girlfriend.ai.
So girlfriend.ai. I remember when we were first talking, and I was like, should I interview this guy? Is this going to be one of those conversations? And I was like, I'm going to take a chance and see what happens.
Yeah, it's one of these things, right? The marketplace for virtual girlfriends right now has gone tremendous since COVID. But the trouble is, what separates us from everybody else is that we're not adult orientated. We're not asking for nudes. We're not asking anything sexual. We're actually using the AI to better the human who's using it. So if you're a guy that struggles in relationships and you don't have a girlfriend in 10 years, she'll get into your head and realize, what are the problems? Why, can't you find a girlfriend? Could be that you're overweight. So she will, encourage you to go to the gym and maybe lose a bit of weight. Or if you're not looking after your personal appearance, she'll help you, guide you into a better place. And even if you're not romantic, if you got zero romance into you, she can train you to become more romantic, to attract the other partner, because everyone is different and everyone's programmed differently, especially if you've been brought up with mental health issues, especially during COVID. A lot of people with underlying mental health issues came forward, and including myself. And having an AI which can actually hold your hand and actually walk you through a way to better yourself mentally, to become a best person of yourself, to then find the ideal girl or partner that you want to be with. This is our goal with Girlfriend.ai.
So Girlfriend.ai, when you look at that, that's less of a romantic relationship with a computer program and more of a relationship development tool to help you become more apt to be able to find the perfect relationship for yourself.
Exactly. It's like a relationship coach. So we've trained the model with relationship advice with experts as well, to help people actually go out there and find it. And with the other podcasts, when we've been talking about girlfriend, there's always been a question, but like, what about boyfriend? What about if you're gender neutral or whatever? It's like we're just doing one part of the market, which is girlfriend. This is why we bought Partner.ai. So if you want a boyfriend, if you want a legal assistant, if you want a friend, if you want a breathing coach, it's going to be everything in terms of what you need. Is it therapy? Do you need a career advice? You name it. She's going to know everything.
That's amazing. That's really interesting. And it makes me think of something like C-3PO in Star Wars. When we look at the future, we have these droids out there. Everybody's got one for some specific purpose. You might have a couple. You've got your R2-D2 and your C-3PO. And each of these droids have functional purposes that they're required to do, either negotiate trade, fix a machine, or anything like that. And certainly help with relationships. It's not going to have any judgment. It's not going to go, wow, that was weird. It's going to really focus in and say, okay, well, this is who you are or who you want to be. And so therefore, this is what you need to do to attract the person that you want to be with the person who you're going to be.
Exactly. She's not going to laugh at you. She's not going to take the piss out of you if you say something wrong. This is what's beautiful about this project, is that we're making it so it's the data safety and also the protection is fully encrypted. So if you were using it for 6 months and you've gone deep into your childhood or traumas or stuff like that, we're not going to sell that data. No, this is private for the AI bot only. It's a bit like therapy. When you go to a therapist, she'll ask you questions. He or she as a therapist can't tell her friends about it or go public with it, because you're breaching that trust. And this is the way that we see this project running, is that, and this is where the technology comes into it as well, is that, yes, there's LLMs right now where you can type with a virtual girlfriend. We've got the tech now where it's like full on real-time voice. So we host everything locally. So you'll be able to give the girlfriend a call and you'll be able to speak to her like we are right now. She's going to have a backstory. She's going to have full on realism. She might be at a nightclub. She might be at the beach. If she's busy, she'll put the phone down on you and say, call later on. You text her, she's not going to respond straight away. She might respond within a few minutes. It's going to feel the realism that we're striving for on Girlfriend is exactly like the movie Her. I don't know if you've seen the movie.
Mm-hmm. No, I have not seen the movie Her. No.
Yeah, it's won an award. It's it's about 11 or 12 years old now. But halfway through the movie, I'll give you the premise of it, and this is what gave us the idea in the first place, is that there's a guy who's just come out of a relationship with his wife, and he's depressed. So, and then all of a sudden, this AI operating system, as it's called in the movie, it asks personal questions. It's like an onboarding, and before you know it, Scarlett Johansson is the voice of the AI, and they connect, and then they create a synergy. And he trusts her over time. He confides in her, and she basically uplifts him, makes him happier. All of a sudden, now he's not depressed; he's happy. But then it gets to a turning point where he's fully reliant on the AI. And this is where we want to steer away from, because he gets romantically involved with her. He has sex with her through voice. And then he goes around telling his friends he's got a girlfriend. And they're like, oh, great, what's she called? Samantha. No, who's Samantha? Oh, she's on my phone right now. And it's like, but at this point in the movie, everybody else is using them. So, and he asked her the question, he goes, how many guys are you dating? And she said something like, 6,000 or something like that. And it's like, are you in love with any of these? And she was like, yeah, I am. It's like, because she shared between everybody. And this is where we kind of this is where we're different. We don't want the person to be glued to the AI girlfriend because we want them to go out. So if you're at home and she calls you up and he goes, what are you doing? I'm playing Fortnite. It's like, well, no. Maybe you can go out and meet your friends. You never know. You might meet somebody. Makes you more sociable instead of being secluded and locked in.
So the prompting is about pushing the relationship into the physical domain, into the, well, I'll call it the analog domain of the world that we live in, rather than drawing them into the digital world of having a relationship with a piece of tech.
Exactly. And she's like giving you friendly nudges, like the uplifting thing. So, for example, you might hate the job that you're in, but she'll call you up in the morning and go, hey, babe, no, I hope you have a really nice day at work. No, you work really hard. Give you the vocal commitment to actually uplift the human. And the more that you speak to her, the more she'll get to know you and what makes you tick and what makes you happy. And she'll just keep on pushing to motivate you to become a better person. But we can't say things directly, because this is where the problem comes in. Because if the AI glitches and she goes, oh, you need to jump off the 12th floor window and you'll find a girlfriend, and someone does that, then we've got legal problems. So same with therapy. You kind of have to plant the seed. It's like, just to let you know, like 9 out of 10 people will find a girl if they go out to a dating night or something like that, where we have to kind of like direct them in the right path, but without it obstructing them to actually go ahead and do it.
Yeah, it's the idea of never advise, never should somebody, but more think of what I might do would be this. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
And more prompt thought process rather than give prescriptive results.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the industry, especially with OnlyFans, it exploded because of the simp market that we're in. So men who will spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on a girl that he barely knows. He only knows through what's happening on OnlyFans. So there's a massive market for this. And if we can pull these people that are unfortunately can't find girlfriends, and then we go, right, we're going to make you a better person. We're going to help you find friendship. We're going to help you, find the perfect girlfriend. Because with time, like we're going to go back with partner, is that we're going to have girlfriend, then we go boyfriend, and then we're going to kind of like statistically evaluate each user. So with like GTA, like you have different parameters based on. We'll have the same as well. Like one of them could be romantic, another one could be how fit you are in terms of all this type of stuff, and then we can actually grab someone in, let's say, in Barcelona, and then a guy who matches up with a girl is exactly the same in Barcelona with the same parameters. Potentially with the use of algorithms, we can pair people to actually find their best girlfriend that they'll ever meet in their life, because she's into what you're into. You think exactly the same. You have the same thought patterns. You have the same problems with each other. And this is where, imagine if you go meet a girl over there and then she could be your life partner. It could be amazing.
It's interesting when you talk about think the same. And I was talking with another person who's running a matchmaker program. And the idea of thinking the same to me sometimes is non-productive, because you're actually going to run into more issues because you think in the same way. You might like the same things, but because you think the same, you're actually not a whole person. And the idea of a relationship is to create a whole person. And sometimes that's celebrating the differences that you have between each other rather than the similarities.
Exactly, yeah. You might find that you like more of a passive girlfriend or more of a leadership girlfriend that tells you what to do. And this is where we need to obviously check, with what is their ideal girlfriend. And
no, the idea is what they like or what they need.
Exactly, and this is what we're going to do is with the girlfriend itself. Is like if you say, I like a girl who's witty, funny, sarcastic, the girlfriend, the AI, will slowly evolve into that girl. So she becomes a mirror of the girl that you think that you want to meet. But then imagine after 2 months or so, you're like, well, I don't like the fact that she's bossy or she's sarcastic. I don't like that type of thing. You've just saved the pain of finding a girl who was like that, and you just realize, how do I get out of this relationship now? So it's kind of like a try before you buy in some cases.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting because you're really testing the schema of that personality type because you're building out the personality type that you think is the one that you want. I think if we even take a step back further, the idea, even just the principles that somebody's going to go through that thought processes ahead in advance of a relationship is like 90% further ahead than most people. Most people, they went to a party, they had a couple glasses of wine, they ended up in the back room with somebody, and guess what? Now they're in a 20-year relationship.
Yeah.
Or they met each other at a library and they were working. Somebody dropped a pen and then they bumped heads and they giggled about it, and now they're in a relationship. So it's relationships sort of by constant, like by randomness rather than by purpose. And what you're saying is this can help them find relationships by purpose.
Yeah, and because I mean, look what's the divorce rate in the United States? I know it's quite high in Europe. No, it's a lot of, was it something like 70 or 80% of divorces are initiated by the female.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I've been married twice, so I've got experience in this side of things. So I was married for 12 years before. We became really good friends, but then we fell out of love with each other, and towards the end, it was more of a friendship than actually a partnership. And we both
Mm-hmm.
split up. No, we have a son together and stuff, but we're still friends to this day. And this is the thing with a lot of relationships, when you've got children involved, it's very important not just to go, see you later. No, you got look after your child at the same time, because if you don't raise this child correctly, they're going to have problems in life as well. So imagine finding the perfect girl from speaking to the bot for, let's say, 2 months, and then being matchmated with some sort of algorithm that obviously we have to beta test to make sure it's fine, to find somebody that actually is perfect for you, and which is you're perfect for them as well.
Now, does it do an idea of breaking down? Everybody focuses on perfect, but there's also imperfect, in the
Mhm.
idea that somebody can be imperfectly perfect for somebody. What's your thoughts around that?
Well, yeah, well, everyone isn't perfect. We all have our issues, and it also the thing is in life is that we change every 10 years. Where I'm a different person than I was 10 years ago, and the same will happen with every human. Is like we change our mentalities, our thought processes as we mature. We change. So chances are that you're with somebody now. You might be perfect with them now, but in 10 years' time, you'd be wondering, no, we're so incompatible. I want somebody different. And this is something that we have to tackle because, like I said, with divorce rates and stuff, it's so sky high right now. And you might be great for 2 years, but when you get to actually know the person, you realize it's a huge mistake and if you want to go through a divorce, especially in the United States, it could bankrupt you. And this
Mm-hmm.
is where, if we could stop that at the very beginning, I mean, it's going to take time. This is something that we're not going to release straight away. It's going to take years before we can perfect it, because
Well, I think the
obviously
girlfriend AI, if you think about it, it does a really good job of that inception point of really helping you discover in a more systemic way what that inception point should look like. It takes away a little bit on the sort of spark of romance that maybe people fall in love with, but I think strategy will beat that out in the long run because you're starting off from a point of strategy. But then you hit a point where you said, I think something important is that, but that's great, but then people change.
yeah.
And so is there any idea of what that might look like of, great, you've got girlfriend.ai, what about wife.ai or husband.ai or something like that that says, okay, we're now in a relationship. How do we ensure that we both stay on point, that we're going to satisfy each other's needs
This is the
with
second
equality?
phase. This is the second phase of partner. So
Mm,
with girlfriend, it will be a case of, look, we'll help you to find a girlfriend. Let's say after 3 months you find a girlfriend. We don't want to stop the subscription there because it is going to be a SaaS model. So instead of being a relationship coach, a dating coach, it becomes a relationship coach. So please tell me about your partner. What do you love about her? No. So we get an idea of what the partner is. And then let's say she has a big falling out with you and you don't know what's going on. You could speak to the girlfriend or partner in this case to say, look, what's wrong with her? No, why is she so angry with me? And it'll be a case of she will use therapeutic and obviously proven techniques to actually diffuse a situation because she's pissed off with you, but you don't know why. It could be time of the month, or it could be that you forgot a birthday, or you forgot something important. And this is what the AI can actually do: is like remember important. No, remember a birthday, remember a menstrual cycle that a week before she goes on, that she can be a bit sensitive. And these are the things what us humans, especially as men, we forget. We lose the empathy in this type of thing, that because a woman's hormone cycle is very, very different from males.
Yeah, no, 100%. The idea if you had girlfriend.ai and boyfriend.ai, which in other words husband.ai and wife.ai, and if those two AI systems technically had a relationship with each other, and then they had a relationship with those people, you almost have this sort of secondary checks and balances.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like it's like digital polyamory, and but it keeps you accountable through digital polyamory. Is that sort of where you're trying to head?
It could be, yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, our goal is to make the user happy. So if we help mentally make you a better person, find the best partner. If you're into open relationships, she'll be open for you. She'll guide you through it, because I've got a few friends here in Barcelona who are in open relationships, and they absolutely love that they're in an open relationship. Where myself, I'm not into that type of stuff. So I wouldn't want a wife or girlfriend that did the same thing. So everyone is different.
But in essence, this one would be that, because you do have a secondary relationship. Maybe it's not an emotional connection, but it's something where you're allowing them to be on the inner circle of the things that are important to you. And by that definition, I would say it's a relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And if you go back to the movie Her, this is what happens in the secondary part. So when the guy, in this case, tells everyone that he's got a girlfriend, it's like he realized that his sister in the movie has got a husband. But they both have a girlfriend and boyfriend AI that they, even though they're in a relationship together, they have their own digital partners, which is there to elevate them as well. And it ends up that they're actually in a better relationship space because of having a digital friend that can uplift you. And if you're sad, it will make you happy. If you're happy, it'll elevate you. It'll encourage you to do better with yourself. So it's not a relationship as such. It's more of a coach. No, imagine that someone will speak to you every single day and has time to listen to you. So, and it's the same with journaling, where for mental health is like every day do a journal, where we can build this into the application as well. So if you've got a hard day at work and your boss has pissed you off, you can vent with the AI and she'll create a journal for that day that obviously your mood was down because your boss was an asshole for you, or your wife had an argument because you've forgotten the birthday or something like that. So it becomes part of, like, you can see your daily life happen with different mood swings as well in yourself as well. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm bipolar, so I have ups and downs. And the thing is, it's like, with journaling, I can see certain things what trigger me, if I'm going through a difficult time or not. And especially having like a mental health AI assisted friend to help me go through this is really, really important.
That's very interesting. I think from a mental health perspective, you're going to see this a lot for seniors, for just connectivity, for connection. I think this is something that's a very interesting direction to go, is applying AI. Really was what you're doing, is applying AI to the mental health space.
Yeah, exactly. Because how much is it going to cost for a therapist? And I don't know, in Europe, it's expensive. In America, I'm taking it's even more. So imagine if that was tied with a $20 a month subscription where you can speak to her unlimitedly. If you've got problems, you don't have to book an appointment to see your therapist. You can call her up there and then vent your problems.
Well, furthermore to that, in Canada, we're coming up with this thing called the physician's assistant. And the physician assistant, because we're running into a doctor's problem. There's not enough doctors in Canada. So the physician assistant sort of takes on that secondary level, not the nurse level, not the doctor level, but that middle bit. And if AI was really that middle bit, and then the doctor then is looking into, here's the summaries of each of those sessions based on what the AI would be, you could really have a clinician who would look into what is this AI girlfriend or AI therapist or AI, government organization, and what is the hierarchy of what they're actually saying, and is it actually doing the right thing, or is it hallucinating?
Well, this is the thing. We're going to build a professional part to this as well. So if you're currently seeing a therapist, we're going to allow you to invite your therapist to check your daily summaries, your moods. Because obviously, the mood tracking is so important, especially if you've got mental health problems. And then your therapist can actually go in and check on your daily activity with the, summarize what happened today, check the mood swings, so you can actually see what actually is the problem is. And because you're diversing with an AI bot, which with time, you're going to obviously trust this AI because she is going to be your best friend in a way. Her goal is to make your life a better, without any bias or anything. You could tell her anything. But the thing is, if you want to open up that information to a therapist or a doctor, we're going to allow that.
That makes total sense.
And
well, Vincent, we could talk about this. We could talk about this forever. And I love this conversation. And I love the idea of really understanding a lot of the applications I think people don't see. I think most people, when they look at AI, they look at it as going to replace the sort of menial tasks. And the idea is AI is far beyond just doing menial tasks. And it can pierce into all these levels with an organization, whether it's a CEO of an organization, a president of a company, of a country, or your therapist, that it can jump into these different roles and add value.
Yeah, exactly. And the way we partner, this is why we're going with partner.ai, is that it's not just going to be a relationship or partner or anything, but it's going to be multiple things. So if you want like a business coach that you want to set up a business, he or she on the bot will actually help you with proven methods to actually help you set up a business. And have you thought about marketing and teach you how to do it? So it becomes more of a tutor as well.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because the content creator could then upload and saying the spin that's going to go on this LLM, the prompting is the Steve Hamoen prompting, or the money marketing, money mindset, mentoring, methodology, or it's going to be the Vincent Valentine model.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have all these different skins, so to speak, that are going to go on top of it, that are you're going to be able to just, what flair do you want?
Yeah, exactly. And we're not going to be perfect with this. It's going to take time to train each element, because we're going to obviously use an open source LLM to start with, but we're going to make it into our own. And it means training, making sure that we're giving good advice, not hallucinating and stuff. And it's going to take time to perfect it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, I think that's really cool. Well, I look forward to catching up on another one where we can, check in on progress and sort of check in on what sort of stories that we're getting from the data as to the successes or the challenges that are happening as it gets further into
Do you want to beta test it?
What's that?
Do you want to beta test it?
Sure. Yeah. You flip me a copy. Yeah, flip me a copy. I have to get my wife's permission, but yes.
But no, if anyone listening wants to beta test it, if you just go to girlfriend.ai, put your name in there, we'll invite users to come in and test it as well. And also in partner.ai as well. So we're going to have a closed beta, which is going to be
interesting. I like that.
Very early, just to get the users' feedback and stuff. But another project I want to talk about very briefly, and I know we're getting quite long now, is arts.ai. So with this, we're building a social media platform for AI artists. So the arts stands for artificial. So it could be images, videos, 3D, music, lyrics, anything which is generated by AI. We're going to allow people to showcase it on there. It's going to be like an Instagram/Patreon on there as well, to encourage people who are good at prompting for images or creating any form of artwork could actually earn a living on there as well. And that should be releasing in the next 2-3 weeks.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. Well, I love all the things you're on. I mean, talking about digital assets as a next step and just developing that whole industry, I think it's super interesting that a lot of people don't know about. And so thank you so much for all the knowledge that you shared today. And Cognitive AI, hit it. Girlfriend AI, hit it. Art.ai, hit it. You've got all the amazing names out there. So again, proving digital assets and the value of those. And my man, thanks so much for the chat today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to speaking to you again in future.
Thank you. And this is the Money, the Mindset, and the Mentoring podcast. We'll see you on the next one.